Hi everyone, I'm really happy the previous talk had a lot of detail because this one it won't have as many, of course. I have to confess I'm not yeah, I have to confess I'm not an aquarist. Somehow still I got invited to talk to you about all you have to know when setting up a land-based coral nursery. Um, but what I can do is to give you a couple examples of some coral nurseries I have helped to set up in the Caribbean. And as we all know, coral nurseries became a really popular and recognized technique or resource for coral restoration and conservation. And we must think in a coral nursery as any facility or infrastructure in order to reproduce corals and to keep them mostly alive. Of course, that's the objective, right? So because of that, also we have to recognize that the animals we want to keep alive, they are quite simple, but at the same time they have really complex, high complex physiologies. For instance, we know that this symbiosis they have with microalgae and through photosynthesis, it can provide up to the 90% of their metabolic requirements. That's from the book, of course. I have to memorize it. But no worries, I won't talk further about coral physiology, even though it's pretty cool and really like it. But it helps me to stress out the point that these animals, in order to be happy, they require specific environmental conditions such as water quality, like temperature. We all know the effects of temperature and bleaching, for instance. Salinity and pH are other really important things. Nutrients, a rise of nutrients in our water tanks, for instance, can provoke an overgrowing of algae. Light and water flow are one of the most important things. As we know, it has to be specific for each coral species we're working with. Also, we know that corals have a natural vertical distribution in the reef. So our task is to try to simulate the conditions, the water conditions based on the flow, but also at light amount that these corals are used to be. So in general, we could divide these nurseries like indoor nurseries, which implies culture tanks inside a room, for instance, semi-protected in case there is some kind of shelter, but still it's not a room. For instance, you don't have doors. And totally outdoor nurseries, which obviously means aquarium system under the sunlight. And of course, this can be like either open or cross system, depending if you are doing like continuous water flow exchange or just periodically. So for already a couple of years, about 12, Corallium Lab under the direction of Dr. Anastasia Banashat has been working, developing techniques and tools like affordable in order to reproduce corals and that way like save them. So today I'm gonna just talk about two of these examples, and it's two aquarium system that we designed and set up in two locations of the Mesoamerican Barrier Reef. So the general design, it's pretty simple and affordable, and that was the idea. So everyone could actually access to it and start working with coral reproduction. And it has three main components. The first one is the reservoir. Do I have a, yes, this one. But also it says reservoir, right? So that one, so what is just pumping directly to that one, and from there is repumped through a filtration system, a sterilization with UV, and then delivered to culture tanks, and then by gravity is going back to the reservoir again. So this is a closed system; it doesn't have any control temperature. It's pretty simple, but still has been used to reproduce successful corals. So I'm gonna give you a first example. This one was established in Tournef Atoll in Calabash Field Station. It was the product of a collaboration between the UNAM Corallium Lab and the University of Belize, and they knows pretty well this system. As you know, as you can see, it's the same like basic design. Water just goes from the reservoir to the filtration system and delivered to the culture tanks and then going back. Again, this is a coral closed system, doesn't have temperature control and has artificial light, even though it works pretty well to reproduce corals. This is just a picture so it can give you a better idea about how these materials or tool looks like. That's a reservoir, and as you can see, it's very on sand. It helps to drain all the water and also to keep or to maintain better range of temperature. That's the filtration system, and those the aquariums. Again, the idea was to design something that would be affordable and everyone could start working with these things. Second example is the most recent lab I've been working with, and it's in Valladolid and held by FUNDEMAR. So as you can see, it's like a modified shipping container. So it might look like Breaking Bad from the outside, of course, but inside it's pretty different. So this one is located in Dominican Republic in Valladolid, while it's pumped from 50 meters away from the where the shipping container is. And this is a drawing of the general. It looks pretty weird, but yeah, I'm sorry. That's a drawing of the general like distribution of the elements inside the the lab. These ones are just working tables. These should be like the aquarium system. This is filtration system. All these are the nursery modules. And for some reason there is no like the laser pointer. No, that the drawing there is not there. Well, that's the same. Anyway, if you want, you can check. Yeah, you can check that reference, and you can download all the designs. That's the pump we use to pump the water to the reservoir, which is actually that one. The filtration system, and this is how actually the culture tanks looks, or the modules. This is the reservoir, and it's like a smaller version of the previous one. I mean, we can pump the water here through a filter and then to the aquarium system, and then again by gravity it comes back. In addition to this, we have like temperature control and also monitor, like remote monitor control. And finally, I want to present this, which might be a combination between like indoor aquarium system and outdoor, and is held by Aquarium Lab in Puerto Morelos. And these two persons, with Sandra from SICOR and the Magaña technician from UNAM, has been working really hard on keeping this like upgraded and in perfect conditions. This is a picture of the aquariums inside the lab, and are used in the first, like mainly for sexual reproduction until larval settlement, and then the substrate are moved to the outside aquarium, which looks like this one. And this aquarium is also is being used to reproduce corals asexually via microfragmentation, for instance. And of course, since it's exposed, shade has to be provided to regulate, as I say, the amount of light, but also like transparent panels to avoid rain water into the tanks. Again, temperature is really important. So more volume of water requires bigger water temperature controls and bigger reservoirs. As you can see, reservoirs are also covered, so it can protect them against heating. And finally, this is kind of a comparative table between all these kind of aquariums, and the price in US dollars, also the main uses for each one of them. And even though it's mostly, or some aquariums can be mostly used for sexual reproduction with a little with some tuning, it can be used also for fragmentation or to keep corals for a long time. But for that, we might have some considerations, such as define the objectives. I mean, which means what you want to use the aquarium system for, or the nurseries for. If it's going to be for sexual reproduction, sexual reproduction both, what kind of a species you're going to use, and that will define the design of the aquarium system, of course. It's highly recommended to hire the expertise of people, of course, especially if you don't know about electricity like me. Where the nursery is going to be, it's going to define the type of pumps you need to move the water from the main source to your reservoirs, for instance. And the quality on the water, of distance of the water is going to be like both of the same kind of thing. The staff requirements, especially we need, or we want to keep corals like alive for a long time, or we want to hold corals for a long time, sorry. You need constant maintenance for the corals and for the system, of course. Other type of equipment, we mostly don't think about pumps, spares, and tools and other materials we need in order to keep this running. And of course, money is always an issue, especially working with the current system. It's never cheap, of course, and it's always needed to have troubleshooting and operating system. Finally, having a backup for electricity is really important, especially working with outdoor aquariums, which power shutdowns could cause increase of the temperature. And finally, hello Ian, no, we all know that we are vulnerable with hurricanes, so having a backup plan for that, or planning what to do in case of that is really, really important. That's pretty much. I know it was quick. I know it's not easy in 10 minutes to talk to you about everything, but if you have any question, you can reach me. I want to be in a table, I believe, in the afternoon, or just reach me in the back. Want to be after this. Thank you.